Hey, I've been thinking about what you said earlier, and I have to admit, I don't quite agree with your point of view.
Oh, really? I thought I laid out my argument pretty clearly. What's bothering you about it?
Well, it's not that your argument isn't clear, it's just that I see things differently. Take the issue of climate change, for example. You mentioned that you're skeptical about the extent of human impact, but I believe the evidence is overwhelming.
The climate change debate. I get it. I mean, sure, there are changes happening, but I think some of it might be part of natural cycles. It's not like humans are solely responsible for everything.
I see your point, but the scientific consensus supports the idea that human activities significantly contribute to climate change. The rise in greenhouse gas emissions and the correlation with temperature increases are hard to ignore.
True, but there's always room for skepticism, right? I mean, scientists have been wrong before, and there are some studies out there that question the severity of the impact.
That's fair, but the majority of scientists agree on this, and the consequences are dire. We need to take action to mitigate the effects and transition to more sustainable practices.
But what if the solutions proposed have their own drawbacks? Like, the rapid shift to renewable energy might have economic consequences for certain industries.
I get that change is challenging, and it might have short-term economic effects. But think about the long-term benefits. A sustainable future is not just about the environment. It's also about ensuring a stable and healthy economy for generations to come.
I see your perspective, but I'm worried about the immediate impact on people's livelihoods. It's easy for those who don't depend on those industries to call for radical change.
Fair point. It's essential to consider the human element in these discussions. Perhaps there can be a more gradual transition, with support and retraining for those affected.
Now we're talking. I think finding common ground and compromise is the key. It's not about being against change, but making sure it's implemented in a way that doesn't leave people behind.
I appreciate your willingness to find common ground, and I agree that understanding different viewpoints is crucial. However, I still have reservations about some aspects of your perspective, especially when it comes to the role of government in addressing societal issues.
The classic debate about the role of government. What specifically bothers you about it?
Well, you seem to have a lot of faith in the government's ability to solve problems efficiently. I, on the other hand, believe in the importance of individual freedom and limited government intervention.
I get where you're coming from, but sometimes certain issues require collective action. Take healthcare, for instance. A comprehensive government-backed healthcare system ensures that everyone has access to essential medical services.
I hear you, but I worry about the potential downsides of a government-controlled healthcare system. It could lead to inefficiencies, lack of innovation, and a burden on taxpayers. I believe in a more market-oriented approach where competition can drive efficiency and innovation.
I understand the concerns about government inefficiency, but the market approach can lead to disparities in access. Not everyone can afford quality health care, and that's a societal problem that needs addressing.
While I acknowledge the need for accessibility, I'm not convinced that a one-size-fits-all government solution is the best approach. Perhaps there are ways to promote competition within the healthcare sector without sacrificing individual choice and innovation.
It's a delicate balance for sure. But what about situations where the profit motive conflicts with the well-being of society? For instance, in industries like pharmaceuticals, where life-saving medications can be priced out of reach for many.
That's a tough issue, and I agree that there should be measures in place to ensure affordable access to essential medications. However, I'm skeptical about relying solely on government regulation. Perhaps there could be a middle ground where private companies are incentivized to develop innovative solutions without exploiting the vulnerable.
It seems we're circling back to finding that balance between government intervention and a free market approach. It's challenging, but I believe it's possible to design systems that address societal needs without sacrificing individual liberties.
I couldn't agree more. It's crucial to keep these dialogues open and respectful. Another topic that's been on my mind is education. I sense we might have differing views on the role of standardized testing in evaluating students in schools.
The age-old debate on standardized testing. I think it's a necessary tool to measure academic performance and ensure accountability in the education system. How do you feel about it?
I understand the need for accountability, but I'm concerned that the emphasis on standardized testing often narrows the focus of education. It tends to prioritize rote memorization over critical thinking and creativity, which I believe are essential skills for the future.
I see your point, but without standardized testing, how do we ensure that students are meeting certain academic standards? It provides a uniform measure to evaluate and compare educational outcomes.
That's a valid concern, but I think there are alternative assessment methods that can provide a more comprehensive understanding of a student's abilities. Project-based assessments, for example, allow students to demonstrate their knowledge in real-world applications.
While project-based assessments have their merits, they might not be as objective and standardized as we need for a fair evaluation. Standardized testing, in theory, offers an equal measure for all students.
True, but it also tends to disadvantage students who don't perform well in test-taking environments or those who come from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. It can perpetuate inequalities rather than addressing them.
Fair point. It's a challenge to strike a balance between standardized assessments and addressing the unique needs of individual students. How about we focus on improving the current system rather than abandoning it altogether?
Perhaps we could explore ways to make standardized testing more flexible and adaptive, taking into account different learning styles and backgrounds.
It's essential to consider the diverse needs of students while ensuring a fair and standardized evaluation. It's a complex issue, but discussing these nuances helps us move toward more effective solutions.
I'm glad we can approach these discussions with an open mind. Another topic that often sparks differing opinions is the role of technology in our lives. I've noticed you tend to be more optimistic about the benefits of technological advancements.
I think technology has the potential to revolutionize various aspects of our lives, from improving efficiency to enhancing communication. What reservations do you have about its role?
Well, my concern is that while technology brings many advantages, it also comes with unintended consequences. Take the impact on privacy, for instance. With the increasing use of surveillance technology and data collection, our privacy is constantly at risk.
I understand the privacy concerns, and it's a valid point. But isn't it a matter of finding the right balance between utilizing technology for its benefits while implementing regulations to protect privacy?
It's a delicate balance indeed. I worry that once certain technologies become ingrained in our society, it becomes challenging to regulate them effectively. Look at social media, for example. It started with good intentions, but has led to issues like misinformation, polarization, and even mental health concerns.
Social media is a powerful example, and I agree that it has its drawbacks. However, it's also a tool for connecting people, sharing ideas, and fostering communities. The challenge is in addressing the negative aspects without stifling the positive potential.
True, the positive aspects are undeniable, but I'm skeptical about the ability of regulations to keep up with the rapid pace of technological advancements. It often feels like we're playing catch up, and by the time regulations are in place, new issues have already emerged.
I can see why you might be skeptical, but isn't that an argument for improving the agility of our regulatory frameworks? Instead of resisting technology, we should adapt our systems to ensure responsible and ethical use.
Adapting our systems is essential, I agree. However, it requires a level of foresight and collaboration that doesn't always align with the pace of technological change. Plus, there's the question of who gets to decide what is considered ethical and responsible use.
The ethical considerations surrounding technology are complex and often subjective. It requires a multidisciplinary approach involving not just regulators, but also ethicists, technologists, and the broader public.
A collaborative approach is crucial. It's just challenging to ensure that the voices of all stakeholders are heard and that decisions are made in the best interest of society as a whole.
I appreciate your perspective. It's clear that navigating the role of technology in our lives is an evolving challenge. While there may not be easy answers, these discussions help us better understand the nuances and potential consequences.
Likewise, it's always enlightening to hear your views, even if we don't see eye to eye on everything. These conversations push us to think critically about the world around us and consider alternative viewpoints.